Two slightly forward. Stand. Number 2 backwards. Slightly forward, number 2. Number 3 backwards. Go back to number 3. Number 4 backwards. Follow up. Number 9. Number 1 slightly forward. Side back number 1. Number 6 slightly forward. 4 forward 6. 5 forward. 4 forward 5. Start! Start!
anywhere.
Well, absolutely, Desiree. You can see really just behind us that everything is in order as we waiting with great anticipation for President Ghali to arrive here at the Union buildings. Obviously, you know, whenever you speak to the government ministers, something that is very primary in this regard has to do with the self-determination of the people of Western Sahara. You know that this is Africa's last remaining colony. And of course, Desiree, we also do have our own international international editor here, Sophie Mugwen. I'm just going to bring her into this conversation as we look into this critical issue. Sophie, every time you go to, for example, the ANC conference, there's always the question of Western Sahara. South Africa has always been supportive of their plight for freedom. Tell us about the significance of this visit by President Ghali.
Well, it's quite important because it will once again put the struggle of the people of Western Sahara on the map. Because clearly, as we are doing now with the live coverage and many of our colleagues who are here, both local and international journalists, this story will be making headlines in different newsrooms today. And therefore, you are bringing back and you are reminding the Africans on the continent and the international community that you still have a country on the continent that is being occupied by another African country, part of its territory, and therefore the struggle continues. And therefore it is important then for those who are responsible to remember that you still have this Saharawi question. Institutions or the continental body, such as the African Union, the United Nations, you are again reminding them that you still have to resolve the issue of Western Sahara.
And what does it mean? Because we go back to 2017 when Morocco was readmitted into the AU, there was a huge outcry, and South Africa once again was leading that voice, you know, in the SADC region, Namibia as well, and among other countries. Now it's 2022, not much progress has been made in this regard.
Let us remember that it is Morocco that took a decision to suspend its participation within the African Union. It was not African Union saying don't participate, but the African Union that was launched in South Africa, the first chairperson of that continental body after the transformation of the OAU, Thabo Mbeki taking the helm, it was clear that South Africa was going to ensure that where there are challenges on the continent, challenges that are similar to what we experienced, they have to be addressed. And therefore the issue of Saharawi was going to be alive and well. And therefore Morocco decided to pull out its readmission. Well, it is an African country, and it is better when it is within the African Union, so that member countries and leaders of the continent can engage Morocco to say what you are doing is wrong. And I think many countries on the continent have done just that, particularly the SADC region. The SADC region has been very firm in terms of ensuring that they do fight for the liberation of the Saharawi people. But you have countries on the continent that are almost like owing Morocco, because Morocco is a very rich country, and therefore using its resources, it is able to influence certain decisions. And that is why when you go to the Pan-African Parliament, you can see Morocco's influence. When we were at the AU just before COVID-19 in 2020, when I was there at the AU precinct, everywhere you go, there was a branding of Morocco, and you can see that it has got an influence. It doesn't mean that Morocco is not an African country, and therefore it will continue to fight for its prominence within the continent. But then leaders must always remind them that there's this outstanding matter. This is the only part of Africa that is still under occupation.
And do you think it is an indictment on the African Union? Because you go back to the days of OAU, you look at the United Nations as well. All of them, they've tried, but the issue is just unresolved. And it's quite interesting, Sophie, because lately now we talk about the so-called annexation of Ukraine. You do have those who are saying we need also that strong condemnation to say that annexation of a territorial space of another country is absolutely wrong. But on Western Sahara, there's a great deal of silence.
You know, it speaks to who dictates the global agenda. your powerful nations will always do that. You know that they are even ignoring the plight of the people of Palestine because there's no vest interest. You look at Saharawi, a very poor country, and therefore they don't care. They don't have interest. They are not invested in that country. It's a poor country on the continent, and therefore really your influential countries within the G7, the G20, including some of BRICS member countries, only South Africa is still consistent because of the experience and the history of South Africa. We know how difficult it is to be oppressed, and therefore there's no way South Africa will not continue to talk about that occupation.
And just, Sophie, just to give you a sense of some of the ministers that we're spotting, I'm seeing, of course, the Minister of Social Development, that's, of course, Lindiwe Zulu, alongside Basic Education Minister Angie Motshekga. And I'm just looking at all these, primary issues, education, social development. These are very important issues, especially when you look at the context of Western Sahara, a country that's facing quite a number of social challenges, and also the women minister also being around as well.
Yes, social issues. This is a poor country. You therefore have to address the social challenges and poverty. You also have to address the issue of education, the issue of women. We know that women in that part of the continent are really, really suffering. 3 years ago, our former colleague Saraki Mane visited the country. And when she came back, she said to me, Sophie, I've been to many African countries. I've seen challenges on the continent, but this one, it does hit very hard. And therefore, women in particular. And therefore, you expect agreements in terms of what is South Africa going to do to help the women in that part of the continent. You have social development minister. How do we assist them? You have other ministries of education. How do we ensure that you support them? Because we know that education is very key to the emancipation of any nation.
And maybe just before we bring it back to the studio, Sophie, obviously we see that the top diplomat, Dr. Pandor, is out of the country, but we spoke to the Deputy Minister of International Relations, and once again speaking about the issue of development, but also saying this is really at the heart of South Africa's foreign policy when it comes to Pan-Africanism, sympathizing with the countries that are still oppressed, the countries that are still yearning to see themselves, being uplifted from the shackles of poverty.
Yes, that is, South Africa's foreign policy is anchored around peace, security, stability, comfort, and prosperity. And therefore, that is why South Africa will always extend its hand to those countries. We didn't shy away to be involved in the CAR. We didn't shy away to be involved in the DRC. We are not looking and folding our arms as a country on a situation like this one. And therefore, this is what the policy of South Africa is all about. You look at what's happening in Ukraine. The people are saying, why are we not firm in terms of what's happening? That's the issue. Peace and stability at all times, and freedom at all times.
Absolutely, Sophie. Of course, that's our international editor. So we're all waiting here with great anticipation for the two leaders to meet, and then there'll be a welcome ceremony. Then the two leaders, President Ramaphosa and President Ghali, will have an opportunity to interact and talk about an array of issues. And obviously, quite a very important issue as well will have to be around economic development. We know that's quite important, as most countries are still trying to recover from the ashes of COVID-19, so to speak. So definitely do stay here on SABC News for very comprehensive coverage. So for now, though, we'll see you after this ad break.
South Africa's strategy would be also to outline, we already know that it involves the AU's Peace and Security Council and lobbying more countries in that Security Council who have strengthened those ties with them, even in the face of South Africa's intense establishment of ties with the Saharawi country. Still alive. You've been missing in action. You have? Okay. Where have you been?
Well, absolutely. Quite a very jovial President Cyril Ramaphosa there as he's waiting for his counterpart from Western Sahara, beg your pardon. And of course, quite a lot that the two leaders will be looking at in terms of fortifying the bilateral ties. We know that South Africa has been a dependable ally to this country, located right in North Africa. And obviously, I do have Sophie Mugwana here, our international editor. So, Sophie, I mean, we spoke earlier about the importance of these visits, that we know that the issue of development is right at the heart between the two leaders as they'll be engaging on a plethora of issues, a number of issues facing the continent as well, issues of peace and security. Earlier on we saw that also the head of SANDF is around here, but just the significance of today.
Well, as we pointed out, it's all about reviving, the support and the struggle of people of Western Sahara. And it is not the first time the leader of Western Sahara has visited South Africa. All the time when he is in the country, his call is simple: continue to support our country. And yes, there will be agreements here and there, but the main issue is a political discussion that is going to take place between the two presidents behind the scenes in terms of political support that's needed at the continental level, but also at the global level.
And there you go, Sophie. We can see the motorcade approaching the union buildings. Of course, President Ghali is coming to meet with his counterpart, President Ramaphosa. And of course, you can see that it's quite a very serious affair, because red carpet has been laid out during the course of the morning. We're going to have a 21-gun salute. It's specifically reserved for the heads of states, for the heads of government. Quite a very prestigious event where South Africa is honoring the leader of Western Sahara. So we're just going to see, he's going to come out of that car, Sophie. Obviously, quite a very important moment at this rate.
Yes, an important moment, and as you pointed out, you have the 21-gun salute, and that's a clear indication that South Africa is committed to strengthening the relations. And of course, you have the Air Force Band that is going to sing both national anthems, the Western Sahara national anthem and the South African national anthem. And you can see that it is a serious affair. A very important area there, as you can see there, where they are. It reminds us of the struggle of the women in South Africa as they take those steps. That famous Women's March, and one can only think about women in Western Sahara who are also engaged in a similar struggle where they want to be free and to be able to do what they want to do and carry on with the business of their country. But for them, movement is still a problem.
Very much so, Sophie, especially because we know that within the AU you do have those member states who are sympathizing with the cause. And we know with South Africa, through the African Renaissance Fund, we've been such a very dependable ally in terms of the provision of humanitarian aid. They also do have a refugee crisis.
You also have countries who are very sympathetic to Morocco. You can't ignore that. That is why it is still a problem to really get a strong, united support for Western Sahara. And we saw recently when the president of Kenya, William Ruto, was inaugurated, they issued information on his official Twitter account where there was an announcement that they will not recognize Western Sahara, but they were quick to correct that because that will be a violation of the African Union resolution, and therefore you still have those challenges on the continent.
Very much so, Sophia. And of course, we can see the two leaders walking down, and during the course, once they're done walking, there'll be that poignant moment where they do greet the ministers. There's that introduction from the South African side, and of course with the Western Sahara side as well, where they try to know each other, where they try to understand each other. But also, Sophie, looking at the portfolios that are here, I see once again the Minister of Arts and Culture, Sport and Recreation, the Minister in the Presidency, the Minister responsible for women issues in the country, but of course the top general of the SANDF. So by all accounts, it's going to be an absolutely serious engagement.
Yes, at the level where you really need these kind of resources at that level.
Basic education, women, youth and children, disability, social welfare minister. He's been going around with her. Minister in the presidency. For deputy ministers in international relations. She's the director general in the government. The Director General in the International is the Chief of the Defense Force.
Well, of course, that's the South African delegation. Quite a very strong delegation, Sophie, in terms of key priority areas, in terms of South Africa's development and many other aspects. But of course, now it's the turn of President Ghali to show South Africa who is here with him. And we do know that a lot of areas of cooperation. So far, South Africa does a full memorandum of understanding in so many areas around development, around humanitarian aid, and of course other issues, really just to uplift this country that is facing quite a number of challenges, Sophie.
I think my only concern is that I don't see anyone from South Africa's side who represent the economic cluster. And you know that at these challenging times, a country like this one definitely needs help in terms of economic recovery, as we know that countries have been affected by COVID-19 and now the war in Ukraine. Yes, I see a powerful representative or a delegation on social issues like education, social development, but I don't see economic cluster. At least with military, you spoke about the chief of the South African Defence Force, and therefore the issues of security high on the agenda.
Very much so, Sophie. And of course, this brings to an end the welcome ceremony. So now it's the time for the two leaders to have those private talks. And of course, during the course of the morning, then there will be an opportunity where they will be engaging us as the media. And we do know that in the country, there's quite a number of pertinent issues that the president is facing. Well, of course, so that brings to an end, of course, the welcome ceremony to President Ghali here at the Union Buildings, the corridors of power. Of course, now the two leaders will have an opportunity to engage in a variety of issues. But Sophie, you made quite a very pertinent issue around the economic cluster. We know that the issue of the economy, it's very vital in light of COVID-19, so many challenges with us, load shedding and thereof the impact. But nonetheless, quite a very strong delegation that we have seen in other key areas around education, social development, in terms of the representation of the cabinet ministers.
Yes, I think the critical issue right now is political. How do you get a support for the liberation of the people of Western Sahara? And I think that will be the main focus. How do you bring back the struggle of the people of Western Sahara? Because it is almost like a forgotten struggle. And this question, the Western Sahara question, must remain on the agenda of the AU.
All right, so we're just going to hand it back now to Auckland Park in Johannesburg, to you, Desiree.
2, 1, 2, 2, 2. Are you getting something? 1, 2. Eh?
So how with the camera on the right hand? Yeah, just to keep it there.
1, 2.
This one. You just need to put it here. I know, sharp way then, yeah.
1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 2. 2, 2, 2. 1, 2. Can you more line? 1, 2.
Channel, English testing, testing English. Testing English channel, testing English, English.
1, 2. Are you getting something? 1, 2. 2, 2. 1, 2. Okay? Okay. Make you go fast. One, two. Oko oli.
Arabic, testing Arabic channel. Testing Arabic. This is Arabic channel. Arabic now. Arabic testing Arabic. The Arabic testing number 1. Okay.
1, 2, 2, 2. Isa ko di mo ito. 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. 1, 2, 2. 1, 2, 2. 1, 2, 2, 2. 1, 2, 2. 1, 2. One, two. One, two.
Okay,
Two.
I'm
Two,
talking
three, four.
on the
Second cable.
the other
that's a
president.
cable.
1, 2.
Second cable.
Yes. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2.
Yeah,
Oh, yes.
got it. Lukhulume lapho at that position. Ufuna check if they are sending you on PA.
1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2.
Tabo
This
tiba
is...
tabang. Tabo tiba tabang. 1, 2.
Okay, and then there's Ramaphosa on the
Tabo
side.
tiba tabang. 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2.
I get a pay.
2.
We are just using him as the president.
2, 2, 2. Yeah.
Yes.
2.
Ramaphosa Jr.
1, 2. 1, 2, 2, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2,
Thank you,
3,
Malume.
4, 5. Are you getting something? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1,
Okay, MC. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2.
1, 2. Or Rilul. Yeah, now the test. The way told na. 1, 2, 2, 2, 2. 1 2 2 2 2 4 1 2. Sure. 1 2 2 2 2. Sony. Ari Sakuti.
Two, two, it's 1 2, just like 1 2, 1 2, 1 2, 1 2, 2, it's 1 2, 2, 2, 2. Just a 1 2, 1 2. So 1 2. Just like 1 2. 1 2. Yes, 1 2. 1 2. 1 2. 1 2. Just like 1 2. 1 2.
Rahas? How are you looking?
Yeah.
Y'all think they get us?
I think so. It's about expression. Still.
One, two, yes, one, two, just one, two.
No, what's the fit? Shoot.
What is it 50 Muharam?
Do you think it made a difference?
Hey, how did a difference?
Okay.
Serious?
Testing 1, 2. Hello.
Even if you can keep it on.
No, bro. I've had a problem with the date died before the president's speech.
Todd. Okay, sharp.
Yes.
Yeah, now it's... No, you
Test the mic 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. Hello. Yes, 1, 2. Testing mic 1, 2. 1, 2. Yes, 1, 2.
Okay, sure. Yes, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, happiness. 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, happiness, ne? Alright, Malamis. Okay, happiness, Malamis.
abadala. Now, on the stage is
May we please rise? Thank you. You may be seated. Your Excellencies, Ministers, Ambassadors, officials, and ladies and gentlemen of the media, we will now kick off the media briefing installment of today's proceedings, which will commence with brief remarks from President Ramaphosa, and thereafter President Ghali will deliver his remarks. We will then open the floor to questions. And I've been told that colleagues from the media are in a hurry. They just want one round of questions so that you can rush to file, so we'll just give you one round of questions. Mr. President, over to you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency President Brahim Ghali, Honorable Ministers, Your Excellencies, Ambassadors, and members of the media. Welcome to sunny South Africa. Our climate is not as hot as yours, but we are rejoicing in having a little bit of sun after the winter. This morning I had the privilege of welcoming His Excellency President Brahim Ghali, President of the Saharawi Arab Democratic Republic, to South Africa, to our seat of government here at the Union Buildings in Pretoria. South Africa and the Saharawi Arab Democratic Republic enjoy fraternal, warm bilateral relations, and these relations are anchored not only on our shared history of struggle, but also on our common vision for the self-determination of the people of Western Sahara. This year marks the 46th anniversary of the illegal occupation of Western Sahara by the Kingdom of Morocco. It is also 31 years since the United Nations Security Council, through Resolution 690 of 1991, made provision for a UN-supervised referendum that would allow the Sahrawi people to determine their own destiny and future. Morocco's illegal occupation of Western Sahara remains a matter of concern to both Africa and the international community until the people of Western Sahara are able to exercise their own right to self-determination. The decolonization of Africa will be incomplete. As a country whose freedom was attained with the assistance of the international community and international support and solidarity, South Africa stands with the Sahrawi people in their struggle for self-determination. That is why South Africa continues to maintain strong and warm bilateral relations with the Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic, which we formally recognized on the 15th of September 2004. South Africa has continued to reiterate its principal position in support of the peace efforts of the AU and the United Nations on the protracted Western Sahara conflict. On the 26th of March 2019, South Africa hosted the SADC Solidarity Conference with the Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic. The conference reflected our commitment as the countries of Southern Africa, supported by our friends in the international community, to a just, acceptable, and lasting solution to the conflict in Western Sahara. This state visit should send a strong message and signal that South Africa will continue to strive for the self-determination of the Sahrawi people, and that South Africa's position on Western Sahara remains unchanged and resolute. This visit has helped to strengthen and consolidate the fraternal relations between our two countries. These relations are steeped in struggle. It has also provided an opportunity to exchange views on recent developments related to the question of Western Sahara. We have agreed to continue to work together to mobilize regional, continental, and international support towards a sustainable resolution to the Western Sahara conflict, in line with the provisions of the 1991 ceasefire agreement. We reiterate the need to return to direct dialogue between the Kingdom of Morocco and the Polisario Front without any preconditions. We will continue to advocate for the active participation of African countries in the resolution of the issue of Western Sahara. We call on the Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic and the Kingdom of Morocco as member states of the African Union to prepare conditions for a new ceasefire and a just and durable solution to the conflict. As the African continent, we must remain true to the constitutive act of the African Union. As the international community, we must affirm the principles of the United Nations Charter and uphold international law and implement the resolutions of the UN Security Council. once again, I wish to thank President Ghali for the fruitful discussions that we have had this morning, and also continue to assure him of the continued support of the government and the people of South Africa for the struggle of the people of Western Sahara. And thank you for coming through to South Africa.
Excellency, President Ghali.
شكرا فخامة الرئيس والأخ العزيز.
Your Excellency, President and dear brother, thank you for the invitation, and thank you for the warm hospitality. Thank you for the people of South Africa and the South African state for the unchanged stance that is supportive and supportive for the struggle of the Sahrawi people. This position that is entrenched in the struggle history and the principles of and the common principles for the freedom and the independence and for the dignity and the sovereignty and the self-determination. Thank you for the Republic of South Africa for the continuous support for our right to exist and our right for freedom and our right of sovereignty on our national soil, and especially the territories that remained under the occupation, the Moroccan occupation. Mr. President, the Sahrawi people was oppressed and continue to be oppressed by a neighboring country after a long struggle against a foreign colonization power. The Sahrawi people faced an invasion and an occupation of an African neighboring country. In 31st of October 1975 of last century, the Sahrawi people resisted and continue to resist and is persistent until gaining its freedom and chasing the occupation power, the Moroccan occupation power, from our territories. Of course, we value all forms of solidarity and support of this struggle, of this steadfastness for the freedom and independence, but particularly from your side, Your Excellency, personally and in general from the state of South Africa. We cannot find words that actually describe our gratitude to describe how grateful we are for you, Mr. President, and for the Republic of South Africa. The Sahrawi people appreciate what you have presented of support in all fields, and especially in the diplomatic field and political field,
والثقافي والاجتماعي
and cultural and social fields,
وفي ميادين
and
أخرى.
In other fields as well.
نحن كشعب مظلوم
We, as an oppressed people,
يقدر معاناتنا وآلامنا من عانى مثلنا.
the people who suffered like us will appreciate our suffering.
وبدون شك
And undoubtedly,
كل شعوب القارة
all peoples of the African continent
عانت
suffered from colonization, suffered from occupation, suffered from the violation of human rights, suffered from the oppression of the other. Therefore, and objectively, you should be in our side. You should support our struggle. And this is a characteristic, one of the characteristics of our African peoples, either on formal or the party or the civil society level, or even the media level, as they passed the same difficult conditions before. We continue with you and with friends our efforts in the African Union for the respect, the constitutive act of this African Union. We also continue our efforts for the United Nations to fulfill its obligations towards the Sahrawi people, to enable it of self-determination and independence in accordance to the settlement plan of the year 1991. Those efforts were hindered for 31 years as a result of the systematic disruption of the Moroccan occupation authority. And up until now, it was not held accountable for the disruption that continued for 31 years of the international effort.
كان من المفروض وكان من اللازم
It was supposed to organize a referendum of self-determination of the Sahrawi people in the year of 1992 in accordance with the settlement plan. They prolonged the suffering of our people. If it was implemented, if that plan was implemented, then the Sahrawi state now has a full sovereignty on its national soil and have relations with all states of the world, including the Kingdom of Morocco. We are fully aware that we cannot change the geography, because the Kingdom of Morocco is our neighbor and it will remain a neighbor. But Morocco has to respect the will of the Sahrawi people and also the good neighboring, the neighboring relations, and they have to respect our option, our selection. We are a very rich country, but at the same time, we are also a generous people. We are forgiving. We're tolerant. We seek to establish good relationships with all our neighbors. They only have to respect the sovereignty of the Sahrawi people
ووحدة الشعب الصحراوي
and the unity of the Sahrawi people
وحرمة حدوده.
and the territorial integrity of the Sahrawi Arab Republic.
كلنا إرادة وتصميم
We are determined
على مواصلة صمودنا
to continue our struggle and steadfastness.
الأخ الرئيس تيقنوا
My brother President, be sure,
أن الشعب الصحراوي
be assured that the Sahrawi people will continue to resist, will continue to struggle,
كانت المعاناة
regardless of the suffering, regardless the time it will take,
انتزاع حقه
until
غير القابل للتصرف
we attain our rights
والحرية والاستقلال
of freedom
وتقرير المصير.
and independence and self-determination.
فشكرا
Thank you so much.
وتحياتنا
And we salute you all, the guests, and we salute the people of the Republic of South Africa. Thank you very much, Your Excellency.
Shukran, Your Excellency. We will now open the floor to questions, and I think we will run this by seniority. Asaf, you'll get the first one, and the juniors will follow after that. Can we have the roving mic to us, Sophie, please?
No, there shouldn't be any question.
Is that a...
Everything is clear.
Okay.
Thank you. There are many questions, Mr. President, and as a senior person who's about to go on pension, I'll ask simple questions and my colleagues will ask hard questions. Mr. President, you will be embarking on a number of international engagements as you continue with South Africa's quest to ensure that we have a better world, as you've demonstrated today with Saharawi. Your trip to the G20 comes at a time where the major superpowers are at each other's throat, and there are fears that the G20 is likely to fail because of the Ukraine war, and those who are pushing that President Putin shouldn't attend that summit. The other issue is Lesotho next week. How do you feel as a person who was facilitating the talks in Lesotho? And finally, in Egypt, COP27, at the very difficult time where there's an argument in terms of countries moving to renewables, when we have a power crisis, not only in South Africa, but around the world. This morning I saw reports that in Europe, people are being warned that with winter upon them, they must gear themselves for cold winter and no power. What will be South Africa's position in terms of the just transition? And to President Ghali, President Ghali, you have fought for many years to ensure that what the people of Saharawi want is actually achieved. Do you think the international community is committed to ensuring that whatever you've spoken about just now is being achieved? Is EU and the UN doing enough?
Thank you very much. Mr. President, I guess let's take those three in one questions, and we'll take another round.
Well, thank you. Yes, as you correctly say, we will be embarking on a number of trips internationally, and all this is in furtherance of our broad and general policy of creating a better Africa and a better world. So there will be trips on our continent and elsewhere as well. That goes to show that South Africa continues to play a very key role internationally, and we are well received, well respected, and well recognized. Our voice as a country, small as we are, is continuing to rise beyond our weight, our standing, and we are rather pleased that our voice is found to be impactful and also influential in a number of circles. When we go to the G20, we are fully aware of the challenges that the G20 countries are going to be facing. It's not only the conflict between Russia and the Ukraine that is going to give rise to the challenges, but many others. The world economy is weakening. Inflation continues to rise in many countries, and prices, cost of living is going up. So it is a common challenge that faces the peoples of the world. And the G20 will be grappling with all that. And we will be taking to that forum a voice of reason, a voice of calming things down and ensuring that we can find a way of navigating a way out of these challenges. The G20 was essentially formed to stabilize economies of the world, and that is going to be one of the key areas of focus. Our ministers have been participating in many of the other forums that have been taking place at ministerial level. Many of our ministers, both in the economic cluster and the security cluster and the social cluster, have been attending lots of meetings that will culminate in what will make up the G20. So we will go there pushing a very progressive agenda, an agenda that will hopefully lead to prosperity of peoples in the world, but more especially for people on our continent. And we will also be going there to advocate for the acceptance of the AU as a member of the G20. Like the EU is a member, we want the AU to be a member. We do not want South Africa to be the only African country that participates. So that is the agenda that we will be carrying to the G20. With regard to Lesotho, obviously we're delighted that the elections have been held and they were peaceful, and a new government is soon going to be installed. And I will be talking to the incoming Prime Minister, who has a desire to speak to me, and I'm hoping that we will be meeting soon. The holding of that election, particularly against the background or backdrop of the reforms that we had been working on as SADC and as led by South Africa as facilitator, and in this regard I honor former Deputy Chief Justice Dikgang Moseneke for the role that he played in the last mile to ensure that those reforms are buttoned down. So we are proud as South Africa that we've been able to play a role, small role, in bringing stability to Lesotho and enabling Lesotho to usher in a new era in their existence, so that Lesotho, as they've always desired as Basotho, should no longer be an agenda item at the SADC meetings. So we're very, very delighted with what has happened there. And we hope and trust that the progress that will now be made going forward will be durable and will be sustainable. And they will continue to have our support. We'll also, as you correctly say, be going to COP27. COP27 is going to grapple with the energy challenges, not only of the future, but even current energy challenges. And as you have said, South Africa is not the only country that is going through energy challenges. A number of other countries, particularly in the wake of, say, COVID-19, but we have our own challenges that emanate from the past, but also the challenges that have been given rise to by the conflict between Russia and the Ukraine. So Europe is going to face its own challenges as the winter comes in, and a number of other countries around the world are going to be going through the same blackouts, more or less, as we are having. We are working very hard on our own energy reforms, and we're working hard to lessen and finally eliminate the load shedding that South Africans have been subjected to. We're fully aware that this has brought a lot of hardship to the lives of our people, but at the same time has had a negative impact on our economy, and that is why we are hard at work to ensure that we address our energy challenges. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your Excellency.
شكرا.
Thank you.
نحن في هذه الظروف ومنذ
We under these circumstances and before maybe 2 years,
أعدنا من جديد للحرب.
We were brought back to war, a war
بكل ما في الكلمة من معنى. نتيجة أنه
and
المغربية
that is due to that the Kingdom of Morocco and the silence of the international community,
نسف
they destroyed
المملكة المغربية نسفت وقف إطلاق النار
the ceasefire agreement
بين الجيشين
between the two armies,
الصحراوي
the Saharawi
والمغربي
and the Moroccan army,
بإشراف من الأمم
under the supervision of the United Nations.
المملكة المغربية أقدمت
Moroccan Kingdom
في 13 نوفمبر
on 13th November 2020
إلى نسف وقف إطلاق النار واحتلال
to destroy the agreement of the ceasefire and occupy new territories that was liberated before.
ومنذ ذلك الحين ونحن
And since then, we are at war.
لها ضحاياها اليوم.
There are victims, and unfortunately, and recently, the victims are not only from the military, there are also civilian casualties. Sahrawi people, Algerian people, Mauritanian people, they were attacked by the forces of by the royal forces of Morocco. Despite that, and being forced to go to war again, the United Nations slowed down. I wouldn't say it did not uphold its full responsibility in implementing its mandate in the settlement plan that went into effect in 6th of September 1991. I hope that the African Union and the United Nations, they fix the situation and the consciousness is awakened and help end the suffering of the Sahrawi people, because they prolonged it so long, and especially the United Nations and the African Union as a partner of the United Nations in the settlement plan has responsibilities as well, and it has to enforce the respect of the Constitutive Act of the African Union, and especially the Article 4 that stipulate the respect of the borders that is inherited from colonization. This negligence and is what actually motivated the Moroccan regime to not respect the international law and continued to but our struggle and our steadfastness and the positions of the people around the world, we will enforce on the international community to accelerate the decolonization of the last colony in the African continent. Thank you.
Thank you. There are 3 more questions. If you may please just stick to 1 question per person. That will be really helpful. Kailish.
Hi, good afternoon, Presidents. Kailish Kumalo here from SABC News. I just want to get your input, Presidents. I mean, others compare the annexation of Western Sahara to what's currently happening in Ukraine with Russia, with the strong global condemnation. But when it comes to Western Sahara, you know, there's a bit of silence. As South Africa, Mr. President, what can we do to make sure that we just galvanize more attention to this issue? Thank you.
Thank you. Govin.
Thank you so much. My name is Govin Whittles from Newsroom Africa. Thank you, Presidents. I'd like to find out from our President whether you're concerned about the apparent withdrawal of more African countries in their recognition of the Saharawi Arab Democratic Republic. And if I could put this question like this, we know that the gas pipeline envisioned through Morocco and the African Continental Free Trade Agreement is impacted by the dispute between Morocco and the people of Western Sahara. Do you foresee any solution to that? Most people have considered perhaps a Maghreb Union without Morocco. Do you think that the African Union should consider that? And then I'd like to find out lastly that the African Court for Human and People's Rights recently described the existence of the military in the Western Sahara as illegal. And I see that the chief of our SANDF is here for the Saharawi Arab Democratic Republic's president. Are you seeking military assistance from South Africa? Thank you.
Thank you. Last question. Thank you.
Yes. Good afternoon. Zoleka Kotashe from SABC News. I know Mr. Mangwenga spoke about seniority, but Zwai deployed us, so I think we are good. I just want to ask about Transnet and the common thread between myself and Sophie's question is around the economy. And we know that South Africa is on an economic recovery plan. But there are growing concerns and there have been growing calls from government, from civil society, for government to take a stand in this and to assist. We know UNTU has signed an agreement with Transnet. SATAW is still demanding a 2-digit increase. We just want to know the stance of government on this and whether there will be intervention from that side. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Mr. President.
Yes, we are concerned about the silence that persists in the world about the struggle for self-determination of the people of Western Sahara. We find that other struggles are articulated at a higher decibel than the struggle of the people of Western Sahara. And that is why, as South Africa, we are clear, we are firm, and we are unapologetic in relation to our support for the Saharawi people. And in our talks, we also raised the issue of mobilizing more support, because we benefited a great deal as South Africa from the mobilization of the international community for our struggle. And international mobilization was an important pillar of the various pillars of our struggle and was quite effective in combination with the other pillars in ensuring that we bring the nightmare of apartheid to an end. And similarly, we believe that in relation to Western Sahara, mobilization should be one of the key pillars international mobilization, as well as continental mobilization, which leads me to the next question where you say, am I concerned about the seeming withdrawal of the various African countries supporting the struggle of the people of Western Sahara? Yes, we are concerned, and it is for this reason that we will seek to heighten the mobilization for the support of the struggle for self-determination of the people of Western Sahara. It is a just struggle, it is a noble struggle, it is an honorable struggle, a people who want to determine their own destiny through self-determination, a people who ought to be supported. We were in those trenches as well, as we fought to determine our own destiny as South Africans when we waged a liberation struggle. And it is for this reason that we are unapologetic in supporting the Western Saharan struggle. In relation to military support, no, we did not discuss anything military. We give many forms of support to the struggle of the people of Western Sahara. So that was not part of our discussions. The Chief of the Defense Force is here, as he is often here whenever we have state visits. As you know, when we have state visits and have a 21-gun salute, it is organized by the Chief of the Defense Force. So he happens to be here for the overseeing of that whole ceremony. And as you see, it is soldiers who are present, who march and hoist the flag. That's why the Chief of the Defense Force is here. In relation to Transnet, we were pleased to hear that the union that represents some 53% of the workers, UNTU, has signed, as it was announced. And we're hoping that the negotiations with the other union, SATAU, will also be successful. We are concerned about the Transnet strike because Transnet is really the artery, the main artery of our economy, and the stoppage of work at Transnet impacts negatively on all sectors of our economy, and a continued strike could threaten jobs not only in Transnet, but right across a number of sectors. As it is now, our ministers have been working very hard, Minister of Public Enterprises, Minister of Labor and Employment, and other ministers have been deep in negotiations, also trying to head the talks in a successful direction. But in the end, the talks have to be between the employer and the workers. So what we do is to ensure that there is stability in the economy, and that is the extent to which we get involved. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That brings us to the end of this session. Your Excellencies, you may take leave of us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.
Sophie, enjoy your retirement. I wish I were you.